It's hard to even know where to begin when reviewing Final Fantasy VII Remake. This isn't just another game, but one that fans have been eagerly anticipating for a long time, and a reimagining to one of the most impactful games the industry has ever seen. On a personal note, the original Final Fantasy VII is one of my all-time favorite games. Its impact on my life has been profound, not only when it comes to shaping my taste in games, but ultimately leading me to take a trip to Japan that I can directly trace back to Final Fantasy VII. I say all this because I want you to keep it in mind as I share my opinions on this remake. In so many ways, Final Fantasy VII Remake recreates iconic moments from the original that left me in awe, at times even in tears. However, when it stretched out segments and changed the story, it left me profoundly frustrated and confused. For some, Final Fantasy VII Remake might leave a bad taste in their mouth, but at the end of the day, it gets so much more right than wrong.
You better be worth the money, Merc. Every last gil.
Despite what its name might imply, Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually part 1 of a multi-part series and only covers the first Midgar section from the original game. You once again play as Cloud Strife, who's been hired by the eco-freedom fighters Avalanche. Their goal is to stop Shinra, a megalithic corporation who's been siphoning the lifeblood of the planet known as Mako as a source of energy. The impact of Shinra and Avalanche is felt in more powerful ways than the original, as you'll get to explore the fallout of both parties' actions. Walking through Sector 8 after the first reactor bombing gives you a better sense of how the lives of Midgar citizens are changed. You might even have second thoughts on whether you're the good guys or not. As the story progresses, the focus shifts from Shinra to the iconic Sephiroth and ghostly apparitions that are new in this remake. It makes sense that Sephiroth would have more screen time as this is only part 1, and it would feel odd to exclude him, but these ghosts are something else entirely. I won't spoil the details here, but their impact on the story is profound, and something that fans are sure to debate for years to come. Familiar characters from the core party to Avalanche members Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse have been brought to life about as perfectly as one could have hoped. Of the 3 side members of Avalanche, Jesse is certainly the standout with a magnetic personality and some welcome extended screen time. You barely interacted with them in the original, and it was great to get to know them in deeper ways in 7 Remake. Barrett, Tifa, and Aerith are all just as excellent. They all look and act as you'd expect, and the stretched out time in Midgar gives you even more opportunity to learn about each. Of the core cast members, my favorite was probably Barrett. He's grown to be more than just a caricature, and the moments he has with his daughter Marlene really provide some heartwarming insight to his overall motivations.
What a good girl you are remembering Daddy's lessons. You know what else good girls do? They go to bed on time. Come on.
Of all the segments, Chapter 9's Wall Market is easily the best part of the game. It expands upon the ideas from the original in fun and often hilarious ways. Not only the cross-dressing part, which is of course incredible, but doing side quests all over town to get a real sense of what this place is like. It feels alive like never before, and you'll have fun simply walking around to soak up the atmosphere. The Honeybee Inn was a particular highlight, but I'll let you see that one for yourself.
Welcome to the heart and soul of Wall Market, the Honeybee Inn.
For as much as Final Fantasy VII Remake gets right with its story and characters, it's clear by the end that making an entire game set just in Midgar was a bad idea. Many sections from the original that were around 30 minutes have, in some instances, stretched to over 2 hours. The Sector 5 reactor and the train graveyard were particularly egregious examples. Square Enix stretches these segments out as long as possible, and you'll be grateful when they're over. Hopefully once Square starts gathering feedback as they begin work on Part 2, they'll take note that Wall Market should be the blueprint going forward.
Just bear with him for me, would you?
Combat is the most common activity in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's changed quite a bit from the original. Gone is the turn-based system in lieu of a hybrid action one. Mashing or holding the square button does basic actions, with triangle performing unique actions for each character. For example, Barrett launches a powerful blast that he'll need to charge back up, while Tifa can perform a variety of combos depending on how far you've charged them up. 7 Remake does attempt to remain faithful to the original system by including ATB bars. Once filled, these bars allow you to perform a number of actions like use items, magic, and special abilities. These bars fill slowly over time but can be filled up much quicker the more you attack, encouraging an aggressive playstyle. Overall, the new system's combat is fantastic. It perfectly blends intense action while still maintaining a sense of strategy by allowing you to slow down battles when pulling up the command menu. Each enemy has a stagger bar that can fill up much faster depending on their weakness. Once staggered, enemies take increased damage, and it's worth saving up your stronger attacks like limit breaks for these situations. With each enemy having their own weaknesses, the battle system encourages you to try each character and different spells you might not normally use. Making a return is the materia system. Materia are magical orbs that can be slotted into weapons and equipment. Each materia grants the user magical abilities like fire, ice, or lightning attacks, as well as more passive ones like increasing your max HP and MP. This allows for a great deal of freedom by not tying certain spells to any one character. It was always fun to further customize each character with every new materia I got. There's also plenty of new materia not found in the original game that made for some fun experimentation. Summons are also back with familiar faces like Ifrit and Shiva. You can't bring them into battle at will, but rather a bar will appear during desperate situations or against tough enemies. Once in battle, they'll mostly attack on their own, but you can consume ATB bars to issue abilities, ultimately culminating in one spectacular finale. Weapons have received a bit of an overhaul as well. Each weapon has a sphere grid of sorts that allow you to manually upgrade them with extra materia slots, stat increases, and even new abilities. Weapons have unique skills tied to each one. If you use them enough times in battle, you'll learn them permanently without having to equip that specific weapon. Each new weapon is not clearly better than the last, with each having their uses. Some are better for raw damage, while others provide more HP and defense. At first I wasn't sure if I liked this, but as the game went on, it was interesting to swap out different weapons depending on the situation. The highlight of combat has to be the boss battles. Each one is a giant spectacle that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Even pushovers from the original like the Guard Scorpion now provide a sizable challenge. One of the more welcome changes is just how many new bosses there are. Some are brand new ones, with others being common enemies found in the original that have been upgraded in fun and surprising ways. When you're not beating down baddies, you can take time to explore the vastly expanded areas and take on side quests. They're mostly simple fetch or monster kill quests, but depending on how many you do, you'll be treated to some extra character moments that are certainly welcome. There's also a multitude of minigames throughout Midgar that provide mild distractions and small rewards. Darts, squats, and whack-a-box are just a taste of what's in store. The original Final Fantasy VII was filled with these, and it was great to see them return in so many fun ways.
Can you believe it? I don't think anyone saw this coming!
Final Fantasy VII Remake is a feast for the senses. Midgar looks and feels more alive than ever before. Each sector is brimming with detail, and you can feel what life for people that live there must be like. Admittedly, there are some blemishes that are hard to ignore, like low-resolution textures and some less-than-stellar skyboxes, but when 7 Remake is firing on all cylinders, it's hard not to be in awe. Once again, the Wall Market is a standout section along with the Shinra headquarters. No matter where you are in Midgar though, it's always a joy to explore and see how each area has grown from the original. Character models have exquisite detail, from their patterns on their clothing to the subtleties of their facial expressions. Animation is excellent, from Cloud simply walking through the slums to the large variety of movesets in combat. It's evident that a large portion of the budget went into the characters, and it was certainly money well spent. My personal favorite aspect of Final Fantasy VII Remake's presentation has to be the music. Each song has been perfectly modernized, with a number of tracks, including the battle theme, receiving several different arrangements for different moments. I didn't realize just how special the music was to me until it hit me hard several times through my playthrough. Plenty of the smaller moments had me crying like a baby, and battle themes had me jumping around like a maniac. No matter the feeling 7 Remake is trying to convey, there's always strong music to accompany it. Music also makes for the game's main collectible, with 31 total discs scattered throughout Midgar. It was actually fun to find them instead of feeling like a chore. Each disc included a remix of a familiar song, with each feeling like a small reward for taking the time to find it. Jukeboxes are scattered throughout the world, and it's fun to sift through each song you've collected. If you enjoyed the original soundtrack at all, then it'll be particularly fun to track all these discs down and give each one a listen. It's very surreal that Final Fantasy VII Remake is finally here. We've all waited for so long. Not only since its announcement in 2015, where I totally lost my mind, but long before that with a technical demo tease during PS3's announcement. I don't think it's a stretch to say that it may have been the most highly anticipated game release ever. Maybe most impressive of all is that Square Enix pretty much nailed it. Sure, there are some graphical blemishes and some story changes that fans may not like, but overall the game is just so excellent. The combat is fun and thrilling, the storytelling is compelling, and exploring these reimagined locations was such a nostalgic rush. It's also a little bittersweet knowing that we have to keep waiting for the story to be complete. The number of games to come and years we have to wait to play them is still unknown, but if Square can keep up this level of quality, the wait will surely be worth it.